Welcome back. Or if you're watching this later, you can see, yeah, we already did the quick sketch because the stream died twice. Well, we're not finished yet. We need to still finish. We need to still render it. I think I've discovered what it actually is. I think it's the GPU that is sort of overheating, and because the encoder is working with the GPU, that's why the encoder, encountered an error. But now I switched it to CPU encoding. Maybe that'll make it a little bit easier. Welcome back. Today's not a good day. Today's not a good day for streaming. But at least it didn't crash, or hopefully, I don't want to jinx it, but hopefully it's not going to crash while we're doing the topic. That would be the most annoying part. We'll see though. Okay, let's finish this quick sketch. We're quite late. Let me open it up. Hold on. Yep, if you're seeing this later, you can see what we're going to talk about today. We can also, you can see the title. Wait, we're going to do this. We're going to talk about what is the perfect human skull. What does it look like? The proportions, the form, the shape, the characteristics, and then we're going to create it. We're going to sculpt it in Blender. That's going to be the goal for today. The aim of what we're going to cover. To learn more about the anatomy, so that when you draw it or even sculpt it, you know a little bit more about it and can draw it maybe in different angles as well. There you go. I don't want, yeah, exactly. They don't want to share. Nobody's supposed to know the human anatomy. They may not be able to remove videos off of YouTube, but at least they can interfere or mess with live streams. Okay. Where are you? There you are. Maybe it's this guy. Maybe it's him. Okay. So let's get this done real quick. I like the sliding, to be honest. So I guess we could just keep it like this. Let me just quickly set this other light up. Maybe even from below. No, below looks weird. There you go. I like the lighting. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's the 1G chip that is in my arm now. Could be. You never know. Maybe it's the demon in my arm now, Okay, where's my... There it is. If you ever miss, or if you don't know where your nodes are, you can always press A, and then if you have a numpad, you can press the dot button on your numpad to go to focus on your nodes. If it doesn't work the first time, just press A again and then do the same. Okay. Roughness 0. Look at him. Look how cute he is. Look at him. Okay. Let's finish this. We need... Yep, that's pretty good. 50% render resolution. There you go. Okay. Let's hit render. There you go. We need to give him some of that post-production love as well. There you go. I saw a video that sounded really cool. It was a Blender video, I think, or like a 3D video at least, where they talked about how you can achieve the space look. How do you set up your scene so that something looks like it is in space? I thought about doing something similar for underwater scenes. Could be more complex just because there's more stuff there's less stuff in space than in the water, but I think it could still be an interesting video. Maybe even an interesting project to really, just to look into. It would probably also depend on the... Well, no, usually water should have the same characteristics, except maybe for when you are like close to the ground, because then you could have like swept up sand flying or flying, swimming in the air, like dust particles. Render times 8. There you go. Post-production, let's do that real quick. Put the glare in, very important. Oh, he's Jesus now. Jesus Moraine. There you go. Nope. Times 4. That's better. Okay, didn't change anything. Okay. Perfect. Let's do the final render. It is time to drink. We will allow drinking now, so feel free to do that while this is rendering. You have 2.5 minutes. Maybe. I mean, I'm not living in America, so, you know, I don't know if it's the radio waves, but we were already discussing maybe it's the new 5G you know, chip that is now in my arm. Or a demon could also be. Somebody's playing loud music outside. Unbelievable. Okay, he looks way too cute for some reason. I think it's the reflection. Why does he look so harmless? Probably also because he doesn't have, I don't know. So weird. Probably the eyes. They don't have like the iris that makes them look a little bit more crazy. Exactly. No, it was even before that, so it can't be the vaccine. Maybe it's the way, or maybe I should just, you know, clean my, you know, just blow through the PC just to get rid of all the dust. I haven't done that in a long time. That's actually how my first PC, my first PC died. I was just playing some Trackmania at some point, then I was just green, purple, black, and then I was restarting, and then I think it said like graphics card is there's no graphics card anymore because it just blew up, or you know, was completely burned through the entire thing, just broke completely. Because there was too much dust on it, because the ventilation was facing the wall, so there was like no air coming to it. It held up for quite a while though. And this PC is actually not standing on the wall, so there shouldn't be a problem with that. It's probably just like, you know, dust in there. I had a problem before with the RAM, that the RAM just was like faulty, but I have like completely new sticks now, so I don't know if that's really the problem. And RAM isn't really, you know, graphics card related, so yeah, but still. Quick sketch day 1, what is it? 85. We don't need the shader for this dude, because he's quite smooth. There's nothing really we can highlight with some dirty creases. Maybe he has kind of small ridges there, but we don't need to. Okay, he's quite a smooth dude. Okay. We need to go into Photoshop as well, just to finish it up, and then we are done. You know what the worst part is? I forgot to hit record on OBS, so I need to grab the quick sketch footage from, like, by downloading the stream, and it'll be so annoying to cut the 3 pieces together now. But I mean, I still only need, well, no, I know I only need the second stream, I think. Well, I'll have to figure that out later. I don't want to bother you with post-production stuff or post-stream stuff. Okay, let me open up the render. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's do it quick and painless. There you go. Okay, so wait, oh, that's weird. The this window is too much. Can we remove this? I don't want you anymore. The chat is right on top of you. Perfect. Okay, so contrast first, as always. Put in some contrast. There you go. And then selective color correction with gray, probably a little bit darker. Yeah. Create some more contrast. And then white, brighter. Look at that. We might lose some detail over there, but it was so smooth anyway that we don't really, lose anything important. Okay. And then, as always, we need the texture. Wait, why is it so... It sounds so loud, but it's actually not as loud, the music. No, it's just louder for me. Okay. Where's the texture? Of course, it's in my folder. Who would have guessed? There you go. Okay. 50%. And add. There you go. Perfect. Let's save it. Save it again. As a JPEG, of course. Wait, where am I? Oh no, wrong folder. I actually... I have this program that can show me how much space is being used by certain files. It's called Space Sniffer. It is like this overlay with blocks, and the bigger the file, the bigger the block. It's super handy to just clean up your hard drive. And over the weekend, I was, cleaning my hard drives. And I think I removed like 250 or so gigabyte, just by deleting stuff. It's actually really helpful. Mostly just old recordings. But, you take what you can get. I mean, if you don't need them anymore, just remove them. I would like to keep them all, but I would probably need to have another hard drive just to store everything on there, like a backup. There are two files that are like 41 megabyte or gigabyte big that I can't delete because it's like in some sort of lower portion of Windows, which is like super secure. I would have to change the security settings in my Windows settings so I can actually delete that file. And I don't want to do that. So now I just leave it there. Just lose like 40, 50 gigabyte just because I can't delete it. Okay. Let's open a new file so we can begin sculpting the perfect human skull. Before we do that though, as always, we need to play the compilation, which means uploading the image. But I need to import it into my phone first. There you go. Copy and... Twitch has kicked you out 10 times? Why? Now you're here, at least. Welcome back. Why did it kick you out? Do you mean like the stream just crashed on your end, or how does that work? Did it kick you out of your account? Didn't like your name? Okay, perfect. Okay, so before we go into the perfect human skull. I'm gonna upload this image. While that's happening, you're gonna see the good old quick sketch, no, month 1 and month 2 compilation. I hope on hopefully making another one this month when I have my vacation. I don't know when that's gonna be, but when I have it, when I'll take it, I'm gonna make a new compilation, most likely. So yeah, until then we still only have 2, the ones that we've been playing for the last few months. So until further ado, I hope you enjoy. I'll see you in 3 minutes, and then we're gonna begin sculpting and talking about what the skull of a perfect human being looks like. So yeah, I'll see you then. Until then, enjoy. Okay, perfect. Take 3 exactly. Hopefully this time everything's going right. This time I restarted my PC, so hopefully everything's cooled down now. So the fishy thing was, first of all, today's quick sketch. If you want to join them every day, or every stream, then if you join early enough, you can join the 30-minute quick sketch. And it is a, what is it? A moraine eel. Hold on, I actually wanted to look at a video real quick. Let me quickly do that. What is it called? Snuggling with an eel, I guess. There it is. Oh, that's loud. Hold on. Okay, look at this. They may look weird or scary, but then you see this. What? Hold on, there you go. But then you see this. Isn't it cute? Look how soft it is. Oh. Little snuggle session. Doesn't seem to not like it, you know? Maybe it doesn't seem like it's trying to go away. Looks so weird, like the tissue or whatnot, like the skin. It looks super soft, to be honest. Okay. Hold on. Oh my god, how long is he doing it? 2 minutes. I heard. So, have you ever used one of the like a Q-tip and tried to clean your ear, and you felt this sort of sensation, like this? I don't know how to describe it. Like this. It's similar to when you have these weird brushes that go over your head like this. It's like this super weird feeling that you feel. And I heard that because I think that happens when you, I guess, get, or you know, you scratch or you touch certain areas where you normally wouldn't touch, that you normally wouldn't touch. Like for example, your ear, the inner ear, you don't touch it that much. So you have this weird feeling there. It's like a tingling. I don't know how to describe it. Like it feels just good, I guess you could say, or weird. And he's just not fazed by it. He's completely out of it. And I heard that the feeling that you have when you know, try to clean your ear, that is actually for animals when you scratch them. That's why they like it so much. And I wonder if that is also true for, like, you know, these animals. If that's true for those as well, you know, that's why they come back, because they don't really, you know, have somebody touch them or, you know, scratch them or whatnot. So they never really get to feel that feeling, and it's just a weird feeling to them that they, or maybe even a good feeling that they want to have it again and again. And they just come back. Okay. Let's get to today's topic. Yeah. Today we're going to talk about the proportions, characteristics, and I guess, you know, volume, shapes of the human head. We're going to, you know, not only talk about it and study it, we're going to also go ahead and sculpt it in Blender, so that we not only learn about it theoretically, but also we're going to do it. We're going to actually create a skull. This will probably be a long-term project where we go through the entire anatomy of the human body. We're going to begin with the head. We're going to begin with the bone layer. So we're going to create the entire skeleton first, and then we're going to go to the muscles. I think the muscles will be the most interesting one, at least for the body. I think for the head, the skull mostly determines the structure, but I think for the body, it's more the muscles, because the bones are quite thin, you know, they don't really add more to, I mean, maybe, you know, you have these spots here, like the elbow or the wrist, that kind of define the shape, but for the rest of the body, it's more the muscles. But, of course, for the head, it's the skull. So today we're going to look at the skull, we're going to study it, we're going to talk about the basic shapes, maybe even the complex shapes. And of course, we're going to go through the workflow of sculpting a skull in detail. Now, you know, we're trying to make a, you know, detailed skull. So it's not like the first, I guess, in-depth tutorial that we made, where we sculpted Loki. Today, we're actually going to only focus on the skull. You know, with Loki, it was more like a side thing. Today we can fully focus on the skull. So I have some references in one of my folders that we can look at, and then we can just go through some references on the internet as well. We're going to begin with mine though. So in general, of course, you can separate the skull in two pieces, in two parts. You can separate the skull in two parts. The first one is the upper part, and then the second one is the lower part, the jaw. I don't even know what you would call the upper part, but let's look at the first image, which is quite small, but still very important. I think this is a good image to just see the skull shape. Not only because it displays it from both the side, but also from the front, but also it shows you the differences between a male and a female head, and why female and male heads look different, usually, or what makes them, you know, what separates them. So here's the image. It's quite small, so it's sort of, you know, low resolution, but we can still see everything that we need. So let's talk about the general shape first. So I guess what we could do is we could begin by creating... No, we're going to talk about the general stuff first. So first of all, we have two parts, as we said before. We have the upper part, the this part right there. Let's say upper part. I don't want to give it a name. Okay, so we have the upper part right here, and then we have the lower part as well, right here. Okay, we could add the front part here as well, like this. There you go. So that's the skull in its most simple form. We have a sphere. We have this weird, you know, I guess you could say like U shape, and then we have like this attachment to this sphere at the top, which includes the nose and the mouth, or the teeth. But of course we can make it a little bit more complex. Let's look at the front view first. Of course the same applies to the female head as well. The differences only really come into play when it comes to details like proportions. I think, yeah, mostly proportions really change the shape of the skull when it comes to females compared to males. So we can first just look at the structure in itself. We don't really look at differences right now. We only really look at the shape. So then of course from the front view we have the same, you know, we have the round shape here. Oh no, there you go. We include stuff like the cheekbone and then the teeth. There you go. And then for the lower part we have the jaw. There you go. Of course, the upper part includes the upper row of teeth, and then the lower part includes the lower row of teeth, just so that you can chew. You know, if you rotate your jaw that is attached right here, you rotate it down like this. That way, you know, you open you open and close your mouth, and you can chew. And then of course those are the most basic, I guess, you know, shapes. We can go a little bit more into detail by going ahead and adding stuff like these holes. I think those are the most important or the most significant changes in the shape when it comes to the skull. We have these holes right here in the middle. Hold on, let me just actually do this. There you go. So we have the holes here in the top. Of course, for the eyes, we can see the eyes are roughly, if you look at this, they're a little bit higher than half of the head size, looking like this. Of course, they're mirrored to both sides. We are also, welcome back, and see you later. We can see the eye holes are, or in general, the face is symmetrical. We're one of these animals that is symmetrical. There are some that aren't, but most of the animals are symmetrical. We are also symmetrical animals. If we go into a lot of detail, we can see, well, it's not perfectly symmetrical. You know, maybe the nose is on one side more than the other, but in general, the build is symmetrical when it comes to the outer appearance. When we go into the organs, of course, it's a little bit different, but we're looking at the outside. So, of course, we have two holes, one hole on one side, one on the other. Then also we have the nose, which you could say is one hole that is like this, like hoof shape. You could also say it's like two because there's like this wall in the middle. Let's actually just say it's one. The teeth are then of course separated. They're their own piece of tissue, you could say. Let's separate those as well. And then of course we have the same at the bottom. There you That is basically, oh, and then of course we have the cheekbones as well. Let's say we have 5 pieces on the skull. If we say the skull in general is this sphere shape or this oval shape, we can then go ahead and say that we also add more to the sphere to make it look like the upper part of the skull, which would be these eye holes, then the nose hole, then the teeth, and then also the cheekbones. Everything else is sort of like the, I guess, the bridge between these shapes. Like, for example, the forehead. You could say the forehead might also be part of it, but I think forehead is in general, it's more like changes in the surface. It doesn't really, you know, really go out of the general shape of the head. It's more, you know, just small ridges and changes in the surface of the skull. So yeah, we have the eye hole, we have the cheekbones, we have the nose hole, and we have the teeth. Looking from the side, we can see it here as well. It is quite shallow, of course, the eye hole right here. We have the nose hole that goes quite deep and goes out again, like this. And we also have the teeth that go quite straight back. We can see a slight upwards rotation. I think that also depends on, I don't know if this is perfectly shot from the side. It seems like it is, but I think this upwards rotation is just because the teeth get longer the further forward they are. So the first front teeth are, you know, they're just longer. So that's why you have this upwards rotation. Let's go to the lower part, the jaw. There's not really that much to discuss here. The only thing really is we can say, of course, we have the jaw part right here. You know, this U shape. You could see the U shape here as well. It goes down. It connects to the upper part of the skull, roughly in the middle of the skull, like this, or this sphere shape. Or actually, no, yeah. If you go from here all the way to the end, it's roughly in the middle of that. So that's where the jaw connects. And then if you rotate your jaw, of course, you move it up and down. You also have this weird sort of second bump right here that goes in between the cheekbone and the rest of the skull. If you look at the cheekbone, if you have a skull from up top, the skull would look something like this. There you go. And then you have the cheekbone right here. Though that's the full thickness basically. So what happens is you have a hole right there. See this hole? And that's where this bump goes into. It doesn't really have a big significance when it comes to, you know, sculpting the head, but it is still very important to know that. That's why this hole exists. You know, just to fit this sort of thing in there, this second bump. You can see it here as well. You can see it better here. You can actually have like a hole. This is like you can see this surface right here. And you can see this small bump right here as well. And then, so we have the small bump right here. We don't know, I don't know if you really need to say that's another, I guess, object. It's just the shape of the lower jaw. But of course, what we also have is the lower row of teeth right there. It also goes quite straight backwards. The lower row, so the weird thing, what I haven't really, I guess, I don't really have a good rule for that just yet. But when you look at the teeth, the upper teeth in the front are bigger than the lower teeth. So what happens is that if you look at teeth, let me just see if I can, oh, we can actually probably look at this. No, it's too low resolution. I think I have another object here. Do I? I do. Do I? No. Hold on, let me pull up another skull. So what happens is, because the lower jaw is like underneath and behind, no, the lower row of teeth is underneath and behind the upper row of teeth, the front or and we have the same amount of teeth at the top than we have at the bottom. The teeth in the front at the top are bigger than the teeth in the front at the bottom. Let's see if we can find a good reference for that. I don't want to see drawings here. Okay, okay, hold on. There you go. Well, we could probably use that. Oh, yeah, that's perfect. So if you look at this, we can see that it's also low resolution. Okay, we can see that the lower teeth in general are just thinner than the upper teeth, at least in the front. The teeth should curve up. Really? In my experience, they just go straight back. Let me see if I can find another reference here. Okay, well, they could have like a what do you call it? Like a upwards rotation. Oh yeah, that's what you mean? Like the small curve right there? Hold on. Can we have like an actual skull anatomy? There you go. Okay, yeah, they curve slightly up. They basically follow the shape of the jaw, you could say. You know, if you look at the other reference that we have right here, you can see these ones curve quite far up, but these ones stay quite, I guess, straight. So they kind of follow the jaw shape. So if you have like a female character that has a jaw that goes higher up, or if this sort of bump right there goes higher up, it goes, you know, the teeth also go higher. These teeth stay quite straight. But in general, you can see how the teeth in the back, we talked about that before as well today, the teeth in the back are on top of each other, but then as the further they go forward, the more the lower row of teeth go behind the upper row of teeth. Which happens is that the front row, the upper row, covers the back row. It kind of goes like behind it. Which is why the curve at the bottom is smaller, which also means that there's less room to place the teeth in, which means the teeth are smaller and thinner. We still have the same amount of teeth though. So wait, how many teeth are there again? 12? How many teeth do humans have? 32? That would be 16, right? Yeah. So we have 16 at the bottom and at the top. No. Oh, without wisdom tooth, we have 28. Well, let's say we still have all of them, okay? So 32, 16 at the top and at the bottom. Wait, okay. Do humans have 52 teeth? Yeah, exactly. 20 primary, baby or milk teeth, and 32 permanent. Yep, 32. Okay. So, of course, we still have 16 at the bottom and 16 at the top. Which means, yeah, we have less room to place them in. Which means they need to be thinner. So we need to basically, well, I guess a good rule would be to make the teeth in the back, create them first, and then go to the front. Because then you know roughly how much space you have at the top and at the bottom, and then you can kind of determine the width a little bit better. That could be a good technique to use. Alt 4 to render too fast. Welcome back. Un credo sin importancia. Hope you had a great Wednesday. Nope, I don't want to try that right now. We had 2 crashes today already, so, you know, that's already 2 crashes too much. So I don't want to do too many crashes today. Yeah, so the back row, the teeth are on top of each other, but in the front, they are behind each other. Also in the back, they're roughly the same size. In the front, they are not. You can see right here. So that's one thing we can keep in mind. Also, which is kind of weird, because I have seen contradicting evidence. Well, maybe not. Hold on, let me remove this layer of paint. Do we have layers here as well? I think so. So my suspicion is, wait, we can go to the female. So we can see right here, either it stops right here, or the teeth go further behind this bony part. But if you look at other references, you can see the teeth stay quite far forward, like in front of this. It stops earlier than that. I think it's the same over here as well. It's probably the same over here. So I guess the general rule would be it stops in front of this front bump of the lower jaw. The distance between it, I guess, is just random, you could say. So yeah, for the teeth, you could say they stop in front of this bump and they are thinner at the bottom than at the top, except for in the back where they're all the same size. Let's go to, yeah, I guess, yeah, I would guess the same. I would guess it would just change for every dude, every human being. So that's the teeth. The teeth, in my opinion, are quite simple. The only, I guess, complex thing would be would be how you place the teeth. One thing to keep in mind, the front teeth are further forward. I mean, the upper teeth are further forward than the lower teeth. There's still that 3D skull. Hold on. When I stream, all the alerts are turned off, so I can't see it. Oh no, another another Greg version 2 in the memes channel. Hold on. Is it in here? You mean this one? Yeah. Yeah, okay, let me actually grab that as well. Just so if we need it, we can look at that as well. I need to burn some big bonfires the size of a man. And I do not know how it sounds simple, but it is more difficult to burn all at the same time. And I don't want to... The good thing is that I have to make an animation in Blender of a saint. Is that a question? I don't know what you're trying to say. I'm sorry. The demon is not going to help me here anyway as well. Yeah. So 25 is it not this one? Hold on, let me see. Nope, that's the one that you mean, right? I guess it's just the YouTube delay that's been trolling here. Yeah, the X shape. That's the X shape that we can also discuss. In general, the face, we can separate the head into two pieces, the skull into two parts. We have, can I just remove this, please? How do I remove this? Where are the layers? I need layers here. Subtract. Dude, I'm struggling out here. Okay, let's go to this. So in general, we can separate the skull into parts. We can do it from the side, but we can also do it from the front. If you want to create cubes or blocks around the face and then the head, we basically create a cube or a trapezius, trapezoid, which would mean that the face is smaller. It would have the smaller part of the cube than the back of the head, which creates this egg shape. So looking back at this, you can see from the top how the face right here in the front. Wait, can you see my mouse? Hold on. There you go. How the top part of the front part, the face part of the skull, is thinner than the back part. That's where the brain is. That's where everything else is. The cheekbones make it a little bit wider, but in general, the face is slimmer than the head shape, or the head shape, the full head width. You can see it here as well. The eyes are further in the middle. You have these very, very clear, defined edges right there that you can also very often see in characters. If you look at an old project that we've done just last month, let me look at a good old reference here. Let's look at this. You can very clearly see how this edge right there, this small edge right there, that basically goes around the whole of the eye, that kind of creates this border. Hold on. There you go. Hold on. You send it again. Is it another one? Ah. Oh, that's what you mean. Yeah. So you can very clearly see how this bone basically creates like a border around the whole of the eye. And then you can also see the hole right there, where if you see from the top, you can see this sort of bump from the jaw pointing, or like kind of sitting in this hole or in this gap. It's not perfectly going like completely through it, but you know, you can still see it from up here. I'm touching my head. Does my head look like this at 90 degrees in Z? You mean from up top? Like this? That's what you look like, yeah? You might not like it, but that's the reality, okay? So yeah, you can see from the front that you can not only see this part of the bone, the widest part of your face when it comes to the eyes, but if you go further away, you can also see the back of your head, because the back of your head is wider. Keep that in mind when you create characters. It creates this sort of slope right here. You can still see the hair at the back, you can see some skin at the back, and you can also see the eye ridge right there, the eye border. And that is because the general face, the face is thinner or smaller in general than the entire width or size of the head. So keep that in mind. That is a very important thing that actually defines a face. It kind of creates a border around it. Especially when you see these slidings. That's why I like these reference images, because it gives you a very, very good information about how wide a face actually is. Some faces are wider, some faces are not as wide. With these images, where you have like a strong light coming from the side, you can really see the structure of the face. Then you can see, you can see it right here. It's wider in the back than in the front. The next part is the cheekbones. Let's talk about the cheekbones. The cheekbones, of course, while we're still at the eyes, the cheekbones connect to the hole or the eye, like this sort of like border of the eye. It connects with it and then goes into the middle to the nose bone, the nose bridge, whatever you want to call it. Looking at the other references that we have here, you can see the cheekbones starting right here and going into the middle, connecting to this middle part of the face. What you could say is, if you want to separate the skull into smaller steps, we have these big 2 pieces or 3 pieces here, we can maybe separate them a little bit more by doing like a, this round shape here in the back. Hold on. Now I'm gonna just draw this reference as well, but who cares? So we have the round back, then we have the eye part, including the cheekbones like this, going all the way to the other side as well, like this. Those are generally the shapes that are on the same plane or on the same height. And then you can also see the next part, which would be this. And I would separate the lower part in general, because this is its own shape. So we could, separate it as well if you want to, like this. There you go. So you have roughly these shapes. You have this here, which is on one plane roughly. Of course, this one goes kind of forward, but it still can be recognized as its own shape. We have the back part of the skull, and we have the lower jaw piece, and then this piece here. So if you look from the front, you can probably see it a little bit better. We have, if you go the same way, we have this round piece at the back. Then we have the cheekbone that ends right here and goes to the front, connects to the eye border. The eye border actually smoothly goes into the surface, but it creates this forehead as well. So we're going to include the forehead into this selection. We include the eyes. We stop at the nose though. We go down like this, and that's exactly where the cheekbone connects to the bridge of the nose right here. The cheekbone makes roughly from here, it goes forward and then roughly makes a 90-degree angle into the middle, which means it looks something like this. Looking from the top, look, you can see right here how the cheekbone goes forward and then into the middle. it's not like it's really going far forward. It's really, you can see it especially here. See how it goes forward and then immediately into the middle? It's not really like a forward, it's not like a V shape forward. It's really just going into the middle. Sometimes we've seen even in these personal feedback sessions that sometimes, you know, the cheekbone or the shape here in the middle gets kind of pushed forward. That is not really the case. The cheekbones stay in the same height, I guess, looking like in this direction, on the same axis, and then go into the middle. That's one thing that you can keep in mind. Also, placement of the cheekbone, roughly going from the ear, or from the beginning of where the jaw connects to the upper part of the head to the tip of the nose, in the middle of that roughly, so the distance from here to here, the middle of that roughly is where the cheekbone goes into the middle of the head. So if you take this distance all the way to here, in the middle of that, that's where the corner, the outer part of the cheekbone is. We can maybe draw it as well, right here. So that when the cheekbone goes in the middle right there, and the jaw connects to the upper part of the head right there, if we have a nose, something like this, distance from here to here, roughly in the middle of that is where the cheekbone goes to the middle. It's not always the case. It's some like a variable that changes for every person, but as a general rule, that's one thing you can keep in mind. So yeah, we have now these different planes. You can also see them in this image here. We have the back part of the head. We have this piece right here, which is roughly the way, well, they included the nose as well. You could probably do that if you want to. I didn't. We could maybe include the nose in this mouthpiece as well, but they separated it into multiple primitive objects. But yeah, we have the jaw, we have the teeth, we have the nose and eyes with cheekbones, and we have the back of the head. That is the most basic shape of the skull. And then also, of course, the jaw, as we said before, connects to the, you know, the skull in the middle of it, right there. And behind the jaw, where it connects to the skull, is a small hole right there. That is the entrance of the ear. So if you place your ears, always keep in mind that the hole of the ear, or where the ear connects to the head, is right behind the jaw. So if you would have a person already sculpted, that would be like the neck right here. You have the neck, there you go. And you can see this clear jawline going to the middle right there, and you haven't already placed your ears. You can say, oh well, I see this jawline here, so the ear should be roughly somewhere over here, like this. And then you have the hole right there, like this. That's where you should place the ears. There you go. So yeah, those are some general tips. I think if once we sculpt it, we can go a little bit more deeper into, I guess, placement of everything in 3D space. We could also look at this, you know, look at this 3D model, but I think it's easier to really talk about that once we do it ourselves. We can also see some very like some fine detail here in the middle, but I don't think we'll really need to look at that as well, just because it's not really interesting for us as sculptors. It's in the middle of the entire volume, so it doesn't really change the shape. What I always found interesting, but first of all, this bone right there, I don't really know what that does. If I try to feel it, I don't know what I'm looking for, so I can't really feel it. But I guess that's part of the Adam's apple. And then you have this weird hook right there. Let's see if we can actually click it. Temporal bone. There's this weird hook right there. Let me see if that actually has a function. I'm just curious. It's not really changing the shape of the head or anything, basically, but it's still a weird thing that is part of the head. What was it called? Orbital bone? Yeah. No, temporal bone. Okay. Temporal bone, horn? No, spike. Temporal bone, let's see. This one's actually rounded off. Oh, there it is. What is that called? Styloid process. Okay, hold on. Is that described here? styloid. There it is. This tymatic, hold on, lies the petrous part, which is shaped like a pyramid. This tympanic part is relatively small and lies inferior to the squamous part, interior to the mastoid part, and superior to the styloid process. Let's see what it is. The temporal styloid process is a process of bone that extends down from the temporal bone of the human skull, just below the ear. What does it do? Nothing. Oh, you can see it here. Yeah, it's just in the middle of the, you know, you can't really see it. Oh, that's what it's for. So it's helping with the movement of the jaw. You can see it right here. That's how you keep the jaw connected to the upper part of the bone. And then you have, you know, different, whatever those are, mandibulars that I guess stabilize the jaw. That's something new that I've just learned. But it still doesn't change the shape of the jaw, so we don't, or the skull, so we don't really need to think about it too much. But it's, you know, good to know about it. Okay. So now that we kind of know the basic shape, we have the big part here. We have the eyes with this border around the eye. We have the middle part here, the nose, with the bridge on top. We also have the teeth. The teeth are further in the front compared to, you know, the nose and the forehead, you could say. The teeth are the furthest in the front. Looking from the bottom, you can see a clear V shape, not only for the lower jaw, also for the upper, not only for the lower jaw, the upper teeth row. We can also see the same for the nose and maybe even slightly for the forehead, because the bridge right here, this bridge right there, is further back looking from the side. This part here is further back than the forehead. So even this goes slightly forward. Only the cheekbones really stay in the same level. You can see how it kind of stays in the same level. So yeah, in general, we have for the face in general, we sort of have like a forward motion, a V shape. So now let's actually sculpt the skull to put everything into practice that we just discussed. The general workflow will be, if we look at the simplification, the general workflow will be we will start with a sphere. We're gonna add basically the general shape of everything, and then we will begin detailing it more. So we're gonna go ahead and add the holes. We're gonna add the hole for the nose, and then just in general, just detail out the shape more and more and more until we have everything that we need. What I said before is that we probably will disconnect the lower jaw from the upper jaw, but I think if we, you know, sculpt a character, usually we wouldn't really do that. So I think the way that we're going to do that is just by using a Boolean operation and just separating it that way later. So we can still go through the general sculpting workflow without having to worry about separating the jaw and then keep sculpting on it. Keep in mind, changes in those profiles are a big part of what define different faces. Yeah. So in general, of course, we can maybe quickly look at the changes in female and male proportions. Can I just import that again? Oh, there you go. We can see in general, you know, female skulls are a little bit smaller. Sometimes, or usually their jaws they're also not as defined or as big. You can see this one is more horizontal and then goes straight up. Then this one has like an upward slope or downwards, however you want to see it. It's also a little bit smaller. You can also see the forehead in general is a little bit bigger, higher for the male. Then you have the head size in the back here. You can see this is way bigger than for the female. The eyes, I think they stay roughly the same. And then different proportions when it comes to relations to placements, stuff like the eyes are, because the forehead isn't as big and the jaw isn't as big, usually or sometimes the eyes are a little bit lower than for the males. The distance from the teeth to the nose is a little bit smaller, stuff like that. Or also like the jaw as well. I mean the chin. Yeah, then of course ethnicities, we looked at that as well at some point, I think last week. Ethnicities also have differences in their bone structure. So we can probably pull that up real quick as well. So if you look at, yeah, let's look at anatomy for sculptors. I don't know if you can find ethnicities. Let's see if we find something over there. Well, there it is. So you can see for different ethnicities, for example, for the more Asian or East, Eastern people, the face is a little bit flatter. That is not because the face or the nose just gets pushed down. It is actually because the entire skull is just flatter. That also includes, does it? No, actually no. It doesn't really include the length of the cheekbone. You can see right here, the ear is roughly the same length away from the cheekbone end than here. So the only thing that really changes is the front of the face. You can see the nose begins earlier. It doesn't go as far forward. You can also see the bridge. The distance from the eye to the bridge isn't as big as here. You can't even see the bridge here anymore. The lips sometimes are a little bit flatter as well. In general, it's just a little bit more. It's just a little bit flatter. Same happens, you know, there are just different characteristics when it comes to different ethnicities. Also for muscles or, you know, skin, like the, what is it called again? Epicanthic fold. There are different characteristics for different ethnicities. But yeah, let's go with a what is it? An average skull for now. Let me show me the reference. Let's go back to Blender and let's begin sculpting the head. We will not create the skull out of primitives. I think that is kind of weird to do if you're sculpting, because usually you don't really do that. You just sculpt it. So we're going to actually start with a sphere. You could start with anything else, but I think it's just easiest to start with a sphere because that resembles the back of the head the most. And once we have the back of the head, we can just add everything that is in front. So let's begin doing that. We're going to go to sculpting and create the rest. There you go. Okay. Did you post it on Discord or do you want to post it on... I think on YouTube it just gets removed because it recognizes its link. So you need to remove or make it like not a link. Put a dot somewhere, or no, put a space somewhere. Okay, so in general, of course, we can also see, or if we look back, the head shape is not really a sphere from the top. It is actually an egg. So we need to make it longer. Before we do that though, we can first add this bottom part here. The easiest way to do that, in my opinion, is just to grab this and pull it down with the snake hook brush. Snake hook brush, the best way to just, you know, remove or add, pull out more geometry. We need dynamic topology for this. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so to create the head, we begin by adding this bottom part here. You can see the sphere of the head ends roughly on the height of the nose, where the nose ends. Looking at the female, it's the same. Where the nose ends, the bottom of the nose, is where the sphere shape of the head ends as well. So we need to pull the front lower than down here. Let's pull it all the way to here. There you go. I forgot to add symmetry as well. There you go. Okay, let's try that again. We need to pull this front part, the most front part of the geometry. We pull it lower than the middle, so that the nose can be somewhere over there. We could maybe even lower it even more. Or what we can also do, because it's more like an oval rather than an actual sphere, is we can just pull this a little bit higher and then pull this back like this. There you go. Perfect. Okay. And then of course we have the height, but we do not have the width. You can of course see this sort of U shape that is going back for the skull. So what we can do here is we can just grab the front part of the jaw, or the front part of the face, and just pull it back like this to create the jaw shape. We can maybe pull it back a little bit more just so we can kind of land in the middle of the skull. There you go. Perfect. You know, if you want to, you can kind of clean it up. It's not really necessary, but that's how you create the general skull shape. We have the sphere in the back. We have the jaw at the bottom. We can see the sphere roughly ends somewhere over there. If we place the nose right there, that could fit quite well. We could maybe pull it a little bit higher even. There you go. Okay, perfect. So now that we have the very general shape of everything, we can now go ahead and give it a little bit more structure. Let's go through the most basic parts of the skull, which would include the holes of the eye, the cheekbones, the separation from the lower jaw and the upper jaw, and the nose hole. I think the best way to begin would be by adding the eyes. With the eyes, you can roughly, once you know where the eyes are placed, you can also place the cheekbone right underneath that. You can also create this hole behind the eyes, and you can also place the nose underneath the eyes. So once you kind of place the eyes, you can kind of place everything around that. So the eyes, as we said before, are roughly in the middle of the head, going from the top to the bottom. For males, it can be a little bit higher. For females, it can be a little bit lower. The average in general is in the middle of the head. So we're going to go with the middle. We can, of course, go into orthographic view if you want to go, you know, very specific. It would probably be roughly over here somewhere. Creating a hole right there, and then there you go. Adding this hole here in the middle. It is basically, so these holes are roughly, or basically like downward facing ovals. You can see it right here. It's kind of downward facing, and here as well. It's like these aviator goggles, you could also say. There you go. And then we just create these holes. Go pretty deep. We can also use the crease brush just to kind of make it easier. The stronger it is, the better. There you go. Create these nice holes right here. Perfect. There you go. And we have the holes. We can maybe make them a little bit bigger. You can see, especially for the females, they're quite big. For males, they're not that big. But I think in general, we can make them a little bit bigger than what we have right now. What I found is I've done the same before, creating the cheekbones first. But what I found then was that I always adjusted the cheekbones because I placed them too high. So I think the eyes are just a good way to, like a good anchor in the face. Yeah, in general, it's just, you know, personal preference. I just liked it more to use the eyes first. There you go. You know, make them a little bit bigger. They're pretty close together. For males, it's a little bit further apart. For females, it's a little bit closer. And that is also why there's this deep gap right here, because the bone goes quite deep in here as well, and there's nothing here that really creates volume. So yeah, there you go. We could now add the cheekbones now that we have the height of the eye and the position. So let's create the cheekbones. We're gonna go in here and add them. The cheekbones, of course, are the widest part of the head, so they begin where they connect to the outer edge of the eye, and then go even further outwards, and then back to here where the jaw ends. Also keep in mind that the jaw, in terms of back here, doesn't go into the sphere of the upper part of the head, but it actually stays straight. Looking from the back, you can see it shouldn't go in like this. It should just go straight up. Perfect, there you go. So now that the jaw connects to the head in the middle, we can now create the cheekbones by starting here where it connects to, right there, where it connects to the eyes. Make it wider. There you go. Quite wide. Roughly a little bit thinner than the back of the head, but still not like completely, just a little bit thinner, not really that much more. There you go. Also keep in mind that the lower jaw is still thinner than the back of the head. We of course can always kind of adjust everything, but we're going to keep it like this for now. There you go. The eyes are better than Mrs. Universe eyes. There you go. And then they go back to, they go basically over the connection from the lower jaw to the upper part of the head and behind that, and connect back to the head behind it, roughly over here, where you have the sort of spike down here. There you go. We separate the jaw from the inner part of the, or from the upper part of the head, right there. That's where the cheekbone connects back to the where the cheekbone connects. That's one connection point, and then in the front is the other one. There you go. So first we kind of just create the shape. We can maybe even make it a little bit bigger here. Perfect. And then, as we said before, it transitions into the middle, but it stays roughly on the same height. You can see it goes slightly forward. So what we can just do is we can kind of remove this volume here, like this, downwards, to create this, the cheekbone going into the middle. And we also respect the shape of what is here in the middle, which is the teeth and the nose. The nose and teeth go a little bit further forward, so we not go just straight down, because that would kind of remove this sort of cylinder shape, but we go to the side. This way we can still respect the shape of the cheekbone, but we can also keep the shape of the teeth and nose. And we go into the middle of the nose right here. There you go. Skeletor. Okay, so now that we have the cheekbones, we can go into the next part, which would be the what is it called? Like the border around the eye that you can see here as well. See that the border does not only get defined by the inner hole, but also by this hole that is basically behind the cheekbone. So what we can do here is we can kind of just create a sort of transition to the cheekbone, and then we can use the crease brush to create this hole right here that goes like this around the eye, looking from the side, goes into the middle, and then connects back to the rest of the skull right here. So it kind of goes like this, so that then at the end you have a shape that looks like this, going back. The shape, of course, is not just looking like this deep crease, but it actually is a hole, so we need to remove this volume. It will get filled later with some muscles, but we create the skull right now. We don't create the muscles, so we can remove this bone. We need to go quite deep, because the cheekbone is quite disconnected from everything else. Looking at the 3D reference again, you can see that there's quite a big hole right there. So that's what we're trying to recreate here. So we just need to go a little bit further in. There you go. We're not going to create the hole just yet, because we can't really, create holes when we're sculpting. We're going to do that later. We just right now try to define this sort of edge right here. There you go. Perfect. And then of course it goes wider again and connects back to the back sphere of the head. Okay, perfect. We can smooth everything because it's not like that. That's rough. Perfect. So that's the upper part of the head. We could say that we add a little bit more over here as well, but we can do that later. First, we're going to look at the cheekbone, and we still need to define the cheekbone underneath. As you can see right here, because of the shadow, the cheekbone goes quite far out at the bottom as well, because the jaw in general is thinner than the cheekbone. Looking at the 3D view, you can see it as well. See how the cheekbone is way wider than the jaw. We need to remove a lot of volume underneath the cheekbone, and that is how this hole is actually created, because if it would be the same width, there would be no room for the hole. So we need to remove all this volume right here. There you go. Temporal fossa sounds I have no idea, so I'll just say true. There you go. Make it thinner, like this, and then we have enough room to create the hole right there. We're not going to create the hole just yet, we're going to add that later. Right now we only care about the shape in general. Perfect. Make sure that there's no transition from the jaw to the cheekbone, like this. There's actually like a gap. We can also see that it goes quite deep quite far in the middle. Looking at this, you can see how far in the middle it goes before it connects back to the rest of to the teeth, basically. You see how far it goes, it's like a T. So we need to go even further into the middle. Like this. There you go. We can remove a little bit more volume right there. Perfect. Keep in mind now that we don't need to go further than that, because this the middle part of the teeth might be thinner, but looking at the back here, this flap at the back, this sort of connection to the upper part, is wider than the teeth. That's why the teeth appear to go behind them. You can see the teeth are only this wide. The purple line indicates the width of the teeth. The blue line indicates the width of the jaw. So keep in mind that we need more, that this part needs to be wider than the teeth. Okay, there you go. Now that we have defined the cheekbones, we can go to, we can now go either to kind of define the forehead a little bit more. I think what I want to go into first is probably the lower part. I think the lower part, the jaw, is quite interesting right now. Because now that we've basically removed so much volume here, let's actually define where it's the widest and where it's a little bit thinner. Let's separate the teeth from the jaw. So we're going to begin with this front bump right there. We already defined where it connects to the jaw. So the next one that we need to define is where this front bump is. It is behind the cheekbone, but like in this hole right here, this hole that we've just created. So it is roughly over here, behind where the cheekbone goes into the middle. So right here we could place it. We could maybe place it a little bit further back as well, right there. It then creates like this L shape into the middle, like this, and then basically transitions to the teeth part. That is basically the edge of the widest part of the jaw, and everything here is quite a little bit deeper. There you go. Smoothing everything. See, now we've basically separated this part here from the teeth. So the easiest thing we could do now is add the teeth. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and kind of define the lower jaw a little bit more. You can see right here, if you look at this, this could be either a male or a female jaw or skull. But with both of them, we have quite a steep curve here at the end. This one is quite round, especially at the bottom. You can see how rounded it is. It actually goes quite straight, but it's also sometimes having this inner curve, this concave part. It's not the case for males, so let's say, we're going to make it just straight, so it's like the average between the two. We're going to place this, make this straighter all the way to the end, like this. Just keeping it straight. We can maybe even smooth it to do the same, create a nice edge right there. Perfect. We're going to care about this later. There you go. And then we can maybe make this corner here a little bit stronger. There you go. Okay, so now we have the jaw part, we have the cheek, we have the nose bridge, we have the eye hole. We can now, let's actually not go into the teeth. We're going to create the nose hole first. Nick Cage Raiden. What's Nick Cage Raiden? I don't know. Is that like a movie? I think so. I know who Nick Cage is. Isn't he? Is that the actor? Or is that the character? Okay. Yeah, I should save. Thank you. Hold on. Let me make a new folder. Perfect. Okay, so now that we have the cheekbones, we have the eye holes. We also have the hole here from the cheekbone, basically, that gets created by the cheekbone, or where the cheekbone goes around. We have the definition of the lower jaw. We can now add the nose. And then once we have the nose, we can then kind of define where the teeth start. We're going to begin with the nose, though. The nose is in the middle of the eyes. You can look at this. The nose roughly begins either at the lower half of the hole or underneath it. Looking at the 3D reference as another reference, you can see it is roughly beginning. Why are you there? I don't want to see you. Okay, it's roughly in the middle of it starts in the middle of the hole and then goes lower than the hole, roughly to the bottom of the cheekbone. You can see it right here. That's where it ends. So if we were to do that here as well, it begins roughly in the middle of these eye holes, roughly over here, maybe a little bit lower than the middle, and it goes all the way down to the bottom of the cheek bones. There you go. Perfect. Oh, hold on. Let's look at it again. There you go. You can see this thing is so annoying. Please just go. Let's go from this side. See how like it's roughly in the middle of the hole, a little bit lower maybe, and it goes and basically to the lower end of the cheekbone right there. It's easy to see from the front. There you go. So that's why what we tried to do in Blender as well. There you go. That's why we began right there, and we go all the way down to the end of the cheekbone right there. Perfect. So now that we have the nose hole, we can now add the teeth. The teeth, looking at this, if we go from the jaw, the bottom part of the jaw, the end of the jaw basically, to the beginning of the nose, roughly in the middle of that is where the teeth separate. See how going from this distance to this distance, roughly in the middle is where the teeth separate. Looking back at the 3D reference. Looking at the distance, this might be a little bit higher than the middle. Yeah, I think it's a little bit higher. Looking at the other references, it seems like it's roughly in the middle. Another human variable. So let's go in here. Let's say if that's the entire distance, the middle would probably be somewhere right here. Right there? Yeah, let's say there. There you go. So as we said before, the row of teeth roughly follows the curve of the jaw and slightly goes up. So looking at this curve, it's quite horizontal. So it goes quite horizontal and then goes slightly up like this. It ends before this though, before this bump. So we're going to end it right there. There you go. That's that's the gap between the upper row and the lower row. Of course, we would, you know, if we separate those, there wouldn't really be a gap, but the teeth would be behind, the lower teeth would be behind the upper teeth. Right now, we're just going to create like an edge to make it easier to see. And then, of course, they end before this. So we can just kind of do this to kind of indicate that they end right there. There you go. Okay. So we can already see that it looks like a skull, but it's not perfect yet. Let's go and add some more detail. First things first, we can see that the nose bridge goes further forward than the forehead. That is not really the case right now. You can see how it just goes straight down. So we need to add some more volume here and also push this right here a little bit into the skull like this, so that we at the same time create the forehead as well. Smooth it a little bit. There you go. And then pull this out a little bit more. We can use the crease brush as well. We can create the nose. There you go. This sort of slope right here also kind of defines the nose shape. That's why it's so important to implement or to include. There you go. We can also see that the teeth are the furthest forward for females as well as for males. You can see this jaw is quite short. Let's look at the online reference, just to cross-reference. You can see it here as well. The teeth are the most forward part of the skull. You could maybe say, well, you could say the jaw. I mean the chin would be the most forward part. Let's cross-reference that with the reference that we have here. Hold on, there you go. Right here. This chin isn't really that far forward. Same for the chin. So let's just keep the chin roughly on the same height as the teeth. But as we see, the teeth right now are in the same height, on the same height as the nose. So what we need to do is we need to push them further forward. So we just add a little bit more volume here. I think that's the easiest way to do it. We need to do one more thing though after we've done that. But let's do this first. As we also said, the upper row is further forward than the lower row. So we can push we can add a little bit more volume to the upper row than the lower row. There you go, smooth it. Okay. There you go. And then we need to do one more thing. You can see how, looking from the side, the whole of the nose goes further back into the face. For us, that's not really the case. I think what we have to do to kind of fix this is we have to push the cheekbones further back, like this, and also push the nose further back, like this. So that we create this sort of half heart shape right here. So you can not only see the inverse heart shape, or, you know, on 180-degree turn heart shape from the front, we can also see it from the side, but just half of it, like this. There you go. That's the shape of the nose. And then we have to include one more thing. If you push this a little bit further back, if you look at a nose, there's this small little bone that kind of goes forward right here. That creates a small little, you could say, spike here. That is important for the structure of the nose later. That's why you shouldn't forget that. Of course, if you if you're not trying to sculpt a perfect skull, you probably don't really need to include it, but it's still important to keep in mind. Okay. So now that we have the teeth, we also have the, we can probably pull the teeth even further forward, just a little bit. There you go. Okay. Maybe we can pull the nose a little bit higher, the cheekbones a little bit higher. There you go. Okay. Now that we have basically every fundamental pieces, we can now begin to detail them a little bit more. One important thing is to keep in mind that this U shape goes in between the wide part of the jaw. You can see right here how we have an intersection. The teeth go into the middle, like this, or to the back, but then it branches out as well and creates this outer bump right there. So what we have to do is we have to create a small separation between these two parts. It's not really that significant, but it's still a structure, you know, that we have to keep in mind. There you go. This part basically can be completely removed. Okay. We still need to add the teeth, of course. Right now I'm looking at everything else. The forehead is dependent on what kind of, you know, character you, or what kind of, not only whether or not you sculpt a female or a male, it is also dependent on just like characteristics. You know, some people have like quite a big forehead here that goes quite far forward. Some people have, you know, quite shallow foreheads. In general, you could maybe add a little bit more volume here in the front. So what you would do is, looking back at the general shapes of the head, you have this sphere in the back, or this oval. This oval, the rounding doesn't really stop right here. It actually goes a little bit further forward. So what you could do is you could just kind of ease it a little bit more, add a little bit more of that rounding, that roundness back by just adding this sort of sphere shape here, like this. There you go. And then what you can also do is go to the side here, and looking at the reference, let's look at the bone reference. Okay, it's not really part of the bone part. It's more part of the muscle part, or it's more part of the the muscle and fat. What you sometimes see, or what you can often see in the human head structure, is that you have this triangle right here that goes back like this. So you kind of have this sort of shape going on, but it's not really part of the skull necessarily, so we're gonna not include it in here. There you go. Okay, we can kind of smooth it out a little bit. Perfect. We can also smooth this out because it kind of, you know, smoothly goes into the rest of the skull. Perfect. Okay. We can maybe add a little bit more volume here in the back because it's quite thin at the bottom. The bottom just needs a little bit more. There you go. Perfect. Okay. We can maybe separate this a little bit more. Perfect. Okay. Let's get into the teeth. As we said before, the upper teeth are longer than the lower teeth, but we can't really respect that right now just because it's, you know, there's this big gap. We can fix that later once we add more resolution. So what we do right now is just kind of separate the teeth from the bones by creating a nice line here. It's quite rough, of course, but we're gonna care about that later. The front teeth are longer than the lower teeth, so we kind of create this upwards line like this. There you go. Okay. Same for the bottom teeth. There you go. Perfect. Okay. So now that we've basically placed everything that we need, we can go and refine it a little bit more. Stuff like the teeth, you can see how scuffed they look right now. We could maybe create the holes as well. We could go ahead and... Actually, hold on. I want to look at the forehead. You can see that while looking from the side, I think it's okay. One thing we can probably adjust slightly is that the ridge, I mean the border right here, goes slightly forward. You can see it in the female, how it goes sort of like forward. Can you see it in the 3D reference as well? Yeah, you can see how it goes. That's where it connects, but it slowly goes forward slightly. So you have kind of this slope going on, where the bottom part of the eye is more visible from the side than the upper part. So let's kind of respect that in our sculpt as well, by just pushing this a little bit further forward, maybe also this slightly further back. Not too much, just a little bit. There you go. Always keeping in mind that the forehead in the middle is still further forward than the rest of the head. I'm actually quite curious how the 3D reference looks from the top. Hold on. Yeah, okay, it's quite round. It's not really a V shape necessarily. Oh, hello. Okay. Yeah, it's quite round, so we can keep it like this. Okay. Perfect. So we've basically created the basic shapes of the skull. Let's go and add some more detail now. By going and adding 50. There you go. Now we have more resolution and we can give everything more detail. So let's begin with the cheekbone. Or let's first of all just use the detail foot fill to just fill the entire skull with more geometry. I don't want to do that with every single piece. I just want to go ahead and apply it to everything. There you go. Smoothing it will make everything nice and smooth. Perfect. Okay. We actually didn't adjust the jaw just yet. We can do that now. Be the blender. You have to become Blender to master Blender. Okay. Create an axe from your friend's skull. Oh no. Yeah, exactly. Back in the day, they used skulls as decoration. Today we decorate skulls. Okay. So let's begin by just kind of, creating sharp edges for everything that has sharp edges. Like for example, the nose bridge right here. Same for the bottom part as well. Keeping this kind of shape in here. There you go. And then once we add the nose, you will see that the nose basically perfectly covers this hole. Making this a little bit thinner. There you go. Perfect. It's always kind of irritating when you activate symmetry, but it's not symmetrical. Okay. So let's kind of add some more refinement here to the cheekbone. Just kind of separate it a little bit more. Also keep in mind that for the cheekbone, you can see it in the 3D reference as well. The cheekbone not only goes into the middle, but it also has this forward or this upward slope. You can see how it kind of goes upwards. So the upper part of hold on, how can you describe this? Looking from the side, it's very easy to see. Like this line right here, it is a little bit diagonal. It connects further forward where the eye is, then it connects further back where it's closer to the teeth. So we can respect that in our sculpt as well by just pushing this a little bit further back. There you go. We can also just use the crease brush to do that. There you go. Perfect. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And then we can also separate the jaw, the cheekbone from the rest of the skull like this. Creating the hole right here. Okay. Or preparing everything for the hole. Okay. We can now also... Oh, there's one more thing that we need to add, which is the separation from the bump and the hinge, let's say. The jaw hinge, where it connects to the upper part. We have this small little dip right here, this U shape that isn't part of our sculpt right now. So we need to go in here and just kind of create this U shape like this. There you go. Perfect. Making sure that everything, like the jaw is disconnected from the rest. by just creasing in here, creating a nice separation. Perfect. Okay. Now that we have this separation, we can maybe separate the hinge a little bit more here. Perfect. Nice and round. Okay. And then also keep in mind that the width stays roughly the same, at least for males. Looking at the 3D reference, see how it doesn't go from wide to thin. It goes either straight up or it goes from thin to wide. So either it's wider where it connects to the head or it's thinner. I mean, it's the same width. So we have to keep that in mind. The sculpt right now has a wider bottom part than an upper part. So what we can do, we could just make it thinner. There you go. Perfect. Okay. So now that we've detailed the cheekbone a little bit more, we've detailed the jaw a little bit more, it is time to go to the eyes. The eyes don't really need that much more. One thing we can keep in mind though is the clear edge over here. You can see a very clear edge where the cheekbone connects to the eye hole right here. We can also see a very clear edge up here, which then goes pretty smoothly into the middle to the nose. You can see it right here. It kind of smooths out and goes into the middle. Perfect. Okay. Same for the outside. We have a pretty clear edge right there. You can see it right there. You can also see it right here. And you can also see it in the 3D reference. Looking from the side, go a little bit closer. It goes a little bit deeper than what you can see from the side. That's why you get this clear edge right there. It doesn't go super, super deep, but it's still noticeable. It changes the structure. Right now, for us, it just kind of transitions to the rest. What we can do is we can kind of dig in here just a little bit more. There you go. Maybe we can make this a little bit rounder as well. Okay, perfect. It is also quite thin, keep that in mind. Perfect. Smooth everything. There you go. Okay. So we've defined the eyes, we've defined the cheekbone, we've defined the jaw. One thing that I want to see real quick is we don't really see it here. We don't really see it here necessarily. Well, it's in the drawing, but I want to look at the actual reference rather than my drawing. Looking at this, one thing to keep in mind that you can also see in the face reference that we have, this one here, is that you have this very clear line going inwards that has been created by the width of the cheekbone that is wider than, you know, the edge around the eye. So, and the edge of the eye going into the middle, that's how you create this slope going inwards. That's what you can, what we can include in our sculpt as well. We can see it slightly there. We can maybe make it a little bit more apparent by just pushing it a little bit more into the middle. There you go. See how we now have this sort of inwards slope? Perfect, okay. Okay, we have the nose as well. Let's go to the teeth. The teeth are looking quite rough. Let's give them some more detail. So if you look at the row of teeth we said before, we have 16 teeth at the top and 16 at the bottom. How do we distribute them? Because the back teeth are quite wide compared to the front teeth. The front teeth are definitely thinner, but they're higher. So let's look at actually an actual teeth reference. Human teeth diagram. There you go. How many wide teeth do we have? You can see there are different shapes. In general, we have either round, I guess cylindrical you could say, or we have these sort of flat teeth. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 round teeth and 1, 2, 3 flat teeth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 round and 3 thin. The shape of them, looking from the side, you can see right here. You can see the wide, I mean the round ones are shorter but wider. The other ones, the thin ones, are longer but thinner. Not only from the top but also from the front. Hold on, where's my reference? There it is. Yep. So let's it also seems like looking from the side. So if you would look from, oh dude, there you go. Looking at this, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 round teeth, and then these are the thin teeth that you can see right there. Same for the lower row as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3 on each side. We can also see, looking from the side, basically looking from the side, if you can imagine it looking from the side, we can see that the round teeth go quite far forward or take up most of the space. The round teeth just take up this forward or this front portion basically. Let's actually look at the 3D reference to see that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we begin with the rest of the teeth. You can see, you could probably separate it into thirds. If we separate that, it would probably be 1/3 for the thin teeth, and then 2/3 for the thick teeth. So let's go in here into the sculpt and create that as well. Looking from the side, we can see going to 1/3. Oh, actually, can we align it? Hold on, that's always the best thing. If we can align it, can we align it to the nose? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, we sort of can. It is a little bit further than the nose is going inwards. See how the nose ends right there, looking on this axis? That's where the last tooth is that is round. It's kind of, that's how I can always kind of remember it. It's kind of hard to do it for the teeth though. We can maybe go with thirds though. Or we can say, oh well, that's where the nose ends, so it would probably be like over here somewhere. That's the end. That's where the 5 teeth are placed. The same for the lower row, right? Hold on. For the lower row, it's the same. Yeah, they're placed on the same height. And then you can see, then they go inwards, and then the lower teeth go behind the upper teeth. Just slightly, but still. That's also why they're actually thinner, so that they actually have some room to be behind them. They also have a slight, I guess, you could say, well, no, the ridges, I mean, the bumps just go perfectly into each other. Okay. Back to Blender. There you go. So the placement is pretty good. Let's go and add 5 teeth here, which would mean we would have 4 creases. Let's go into the middle. Right there is 1. And then we need 1 more here. And 1 more here. To create the white teeth. Also keep in mind that they're not all the same width. They are wider in the back than in the front. I think that's the better reference here. You can see this one. Actually, like these 2 are the widest. And then they, or we can maybe include these 3. And then they get a little bit smaller until we get to the other ones. So the 2 round ones in the front are actually roughly the same size looking from the top than the other ones in the front. So we would have 3 quite wide ones, and then we would have 1 that is shorter, and then we have 1 more that would be right here. There you go. Perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then we go to the front. We have 3 teeth in the front. Of course, there's, symmetrical on both sides, which means we have a gap in the middle. First of all. There you go. Making sure that they are still separated from the bone. We have a gap in the middle. And then we have 3 teeth at the top and 3 teeth at the bottom, which would mean we would have to separate this in thirds. So 2 creases. Looking at the width of those, the front teeth for the upper row are the widest, maybe including the front teeth, the middle teeth of the top row are the widest. For the bottom row, it seems like the middle teeth are the smallest. Looking at this, well, that's a weird image. Let's look at the 3D reference. See how the top row here, the teeth at the top are the widest in the middle. For the bottom row, it's the exact opposite. Okay. So let's begin with the top row. A little bit more than a third to create this. There you go. And then half of this. Perfect. Those are the teeth for the top. We do the same here, but these ones are thinner. And then the next 2 are a little bit wider. Okay, and those are the teeth. They are quite round right now, so we need to adjust the shape a little bit. First of all, I think what we can do is we can kind of smooth them, because they don't really curve outside. They're quite straight. We're also going to use the crease brush to make them sharper at the top. So now we kind of just refine them a little bit. Okay, let's use the crease brush to now make them a little bit sharper at the bottom, right here. We still need to put them behind the teeth, but we can do that quite easily by doing it afterwards. So first we just, do this to kind of refine the shape, make them sharper. Also looking at the length in general, we have these I guess like pretty long teeth, the fangs. So there are definitely differences in the length of the teeth as well. For example, as we said before, the front teeth are generally thinner but longer, especially the one, I guess, on the corner of the mouth. That's the longest. The fangs. And the other ones are quite not as sharp as well, as they're not as long. There you go. Going to the top, we do the same. We can detail these some more, the teeth, once we have more resolution. First of all, we're going to remove the rounding slightly, make them a little bit flatter. Like this. And then we're going to use the crease brush to make them longer and sharper. And now by doing this, we can kind of create this overlap. Maybe the gap is a little bit too wide to really do that. We don't want to force it, so we just maybe make it this long. There you go. They go quite far forward, so I'm going to push them back a little bit, maybe even forward. There you go. Okay. Do the same with the other teeth in the front. And then the rest of the teeth are quite round, but still, you know, we can give them a little bit of an edge. The ones in the back are more to chew stuff. The ones in the front are more to cut stuff. Similar to how the structure of, you know, animals are. Wolves have sharper teeth than goats. Perfect. Okay, we're gonna detail the teeth more once we have more resolution. We're gonna keep it like this for now. Okay, we could, if you want to, you know, kind of detail the upper part a little bit more by making this round. If we want to, why not? There you go. Perfect. Okay, so the teeth are in. We have basically everything that we need. One thing that we can keep in mind though, is I think right now the head is too round actually. Looking at it from the front, you can see how wide it is, or how much wider it is compared to the cheekbone. It is not really the case here for this head. You can see the cheekbone roughly in terms of width is as wide as the back of the head. Looking at the other references that we have, this one for example, it's probably a little bit wider, especially if we look from the top. We can't really see it because the focal length is so shallow. We go further back. Well, we can't really see anything now. But if we look at the other one here, this reference, you can see it's still a little bit wider than the cheekbone, but it's not that much. I think for our scope right now, it's just a little bit more than we need. Also, we can see that the widest part is, I think, a little bit higher than what we have here right now. So what we can do is we can just kind of, first of all, make it a little bit thinner here, especially where it connects to the cheekbone, and then just keep it like this. Yeah, that's probably pretty good. We've moved the widest part a little bit higher by just moving the middle a little bit more into the middle. There you go. Looking from the top, smoothing this. We can see it is still this egg shape. We could maybe make it even thinner here on the side. It is still quite round. Pushing it in a little bit more can help keep this egg shape. There you go. Now we have this nice egg shape right there. Okay. Hold on. We're gonna make it a little bit thinner. There you go, perfect. Okay, so now that we have everything that we need, we could go to the bottom of the jaw. The bottom of the jaw is still quite, you know, rough. There's no hole, as you can see in the 3D reference especially. You can see that the jaw, as we said before, is a U shape, even from the bottom. Not only looking from the front, you know, this U shape, but also from the bottom or from the top. So we still need to remove all this volume. So let's get to that now. We probably can't remove all of it because we have to use the And you can see the same for the upper row as well. See how it how it is deeper and then goes up. You have kind of this circle, or this hoof, you could say, of teeth before it kind of reaches the top. So we can remove everything up to there. So let's begin. We're going to use the crease brush. The crease brush, in my opinion, is the easiest one to just remove volume. We're going to go in here, create the U shape first, and then we go in here and remove a whole lot of geometry. If you kind of create these very sharp edges in the middle of where you remove stuff, you can use the smooth brush to kind of smooth it out. There you go. How high are we right now? We can use the Alt-Z X-ray mode to kind of see how high we are right now. We're roughly on this side. We need a little bit more. A little bit more. Okay. Looking at it again. We're still a little bit too low. See, we're right there. Kind of have to gauge how deep we actually go, looking from the bottom. But that's why we always compare the front to the front. Yeah, that's pretty good. See how we're roughly now at the nose height, maybe even a little bit too high. Bring back a little bit more volume here, and then we perfectly reached the top of the mouth. Right there, the roof. We can maybe make the side pieces a little bit thinner. And then we basically created the skull shape. We can now go ahead and, for example, add the holes by using booleans. That wouldn't really be necessary, of course, for characters, because you know, except if you have like a skeleton character, I guess. But if you create, characters, the holes would be filled by other tissue, muscle tissue, for example. So it's not really necessary to add that there. But we're creating a skull right here, so we could consider it. Also, one thing that I want to look at is how deep it goes into the skull in the middle. I think the best reference for that would be the 3D reference. Looking at that, you can see the roof of the skull ends at some point. The ending is, it's kind of hard to see. It's right there. You can see where it kind of connects to the nose, just because the nose, of course, goes, it goes up above the mouth hole. The mouth hole is right here, right here. The nose goes above the mouth hole, and then connects to it again and goes into the throat. That's why you have this, that's why the roof of the mouth actually ends at some point, which is right there, roughly where the cheekbone, a little bit behind the cheekbone. You can see the cheekbone is right there, and it ends a little bit further back. Okay. So, where's the cheekbone? It's right there, which would mean that it ends roughly here. Make it deeper. Perfect. Okay. Also, one thing to keep in mind is the width of the teeth. Looking at it right here, it seems like the width roughly is, it's a little bit wider than half of the whole of the ear. The eye. It's not the same width. Looking at the female reference, it's roughly in the middle of the eyes. Looking at the 3D reference, let's look at that. You can see the width of the teeth is roughly, so this one's also roughly in the middle, maybe a little bit wider than the middle. Keeping that in mind for our sculpt. I think they're a little bit too wide, so we can probably push them in just slightly. There you go. Not too wide. Okay, perfect. We can maybe kind of increase this edge right here. Okay. This is probably still too thick, but we can fix it better once we have the holes in here. Okay. We can kind of indicate where the holes should be by just kind of digging in here until we reach the other side. Hold on. Where is it? Come on. There it is. See how we can kind of see the other side of the faces? Now we can kind of see where we need to... Oh, okay, well... where we need to dig a hole. Okay, perfect. Do the same up here. Let's see how this sort of the teeth row ends when it comes to the upper part. Whether it goes even higher or it kind of stays on that height. You can see it goes quite high. It's like this. Yeah, it actually goes super, super high. It goes all the way up to the side of the nose. Yeah, so it ends right there, I guess you could say. Or it kind of, well, not really though. You can see how it sort of stays, or it connects to the roof of the mouth. No, hold on. It's kind of hard to see. Come on. It definitely goes higher. And inwards. Like, we can say that definitely. So it doesn't stay on the same height. We actually go in here. Like this. Okay. Same goes for this part right here. Also goes further in for the hole. Kind of digging in here some more so we can kind of indicate where we need to remove geometry. Using the good old Boolean. We also need to separate this part here. Okay. It doesn't go that high though. Looking at the 3D reference again, you can see that it kind of ends right underneath or behind the cheekbone. So it doesn't go all the way up like to over here. It ends right behind it. So we can probably remove a little bit of that length. There you go. That should be long enough. Perfect. Okay. I think the last thing that I want to do is detail the teeth just a little bit more. I'm going to clean this up some more at some point. I think we covered everything that we need to cover. We could maybe go ahead and kind of look at the, I guess, insides here a little bit more if you wanted to. But this part right here doesn't really change the shape when it comes to like a character. If you keep in mind that it kind of, you know, kind of goes inwards like this, I think that's all you really need to know. I think you have like a hole back here for the spine where all the nerves go into the brain, but you know, you don't really see that in a character. Okay. I mean, we could just quickly look if there are any significant parts back there. No, I mean, it's like the small kind of outgrowth here. We can maybe include the eye hole though. And everything else here in the back is quite smooth. Yep. Okay. Let's include the ear hole. Which means we need to bring a little bit more back here. Also here. There you go, to create these spikes, and then we can include the ear right there. Perfect. Okay. Let's go one resolution higher, 100. Just to kind of detail the teeth a little bit more. They're quite round at the bottom and quite flat at the top. Also, they're a little bit further apart at the bottom than at the top. The roots kind of disconnect from each other. The gap is a little bit bigger. Oh, not inwards. I want to go outwards. There you go. So this is only, I guess, small details that don't really need to be here, but they just make it look a little bit more beautiful. We can beautify this sculpt a little bit more, especially the teeth, because they're so small. They look kind of scuffed with low resolution. So I like to go in here and just add a little bit more. There you go. We could, look a little bit deeper into the exact shapes of the teeth if we wanted to. They have a certain, pattern, I guess. But I think that would kind of be out of like this sort of stream topic. And then once we have done that for the upper row as well, we have perfect teeth and we have a perfect skull. Flawless. What you can do to bring teeth closer together, as you can see we have quite a big gap and it's kind of hard to, just push them together, is you can use the pinch brush right there. You can go into the middle and then just pinch it together. Pull it together. There you go. We can do the same at the bottom as well. Sometimes that is especially important for drawings. If you draw someone smiling, they will always look creepy, or they will very, very likely look very creepy if you add a line between the teeth. If you see the smile, if you had lines for every single teeth. Oh, dude. There you go. I always forget it. I don't know what I need to do to, maybe if I do like a stream where I switch between the different sources, it's better to just stay in display capture. Yeah, if you draw every single teeth when you draw someone smiling, and you can see the teeth, they will most likely look very creepy because the lines between the teeth create a very, very like a gap basically between the teeth, which, you know, isn't really the case if you look at teeth. Teeth are quite close together. So what you can do to fix that is you can just kind of start the line but then end it. Or it's hard to explain. If you draw it, it would look something like this. So if you have a smile, oh, you have the teeth row. Wait, why can I? Oh, I need to go in here. You have a teeth row. Those are the teeth. You could either do this, which looks kind of weird, or what you can do is you can go in here and do this. Sort of indicate that there's like a line, but it's not really that visible. This way you can make it appear as if they're very close together, but you can also make it appear as if there are like separations between the teeth. There are individual teeth. This way you can just make it look less creepy. Okay, and then once we've detailed all the teeth, we're done with the skull. Kind of giving them a little bit more over here, make them rounder. Make the big teeth rounder as well. We can maybe even use the pinch brush to bring them closer together. Oh, that's the wrong brush. I don't even know what that's called. There you go. The bone contours around the roots of the teeth. You mean, oh, you mean like these bumps right here? You mean these? Yeah. We can also have like a small intersection here, like this. And then make a small ridge right here. Basically, those creases basically indicate the insertion of the teeth into the bone. Right there. Perfect. Okay. If you want to, we can make the jaw a little bit sharper here at the end. Perfect. And there you go. We have a nice looking skull. The first part of the écorché, we're going to detail. I'm probably going to, you know, refine this a little bit more later. But that is all. That is all that we need to see, or that we basically see, and that we need to keep in mind when it comes to the shape. The roots of the go up pretty far into the maxilla and going down into the mandible. Yeah. They get, yeah. I wonder how deep they actually go. Hold on. Yeah, the bone wraps around it. That's why there's like this. Yeah, basically. Can we see? Hold on. Yeah, see how much more is underneath or inside of the bone? You can see how it wraps around the teeth right there. You can see it here as well. That's why there's this very clear crease. That's not only the case for the gum, it is also the case for the bone. Skeletor. Wait, I don't even know who that is. Hold on. Is it the one? Yeah, okay, I thought that's him. Yeah, we could kind of make this more evil, you know, lower his eyebrow if you want to. Like this. But, you know, looking at that, I wanted to show it to you. There you go. See how deep it is? How deep it goes? You know, the bone goes underneath the teeth. Even the gum goes underneath. If you can still call it gum. Even that goes underneath the teeth. And there's way more of the teeth in the bone than what is actually visible. That's also probably why it is... hold on. Where's my head? Why it is still quite wide here. See how for every teeth there's like this bump? Probably because of the root. Because the root needs, you know, space. So, you know, especially from the side you can see, well, you can't really see it here, but the bumps at the bottom here as well, they are probably because of the roots. Okay. Perfect. That concludes today's stream. We've created the skull. We had some skull sculpts recently in the Discord. Maybe this helped. Going through it pretty slowly, analyzing everything. And yeah, the next part would probably be the neck. So everything including what you can see here, basically. You know, the spine. I would probably sculpt the spine as one. I would probably not create like individual pieces here. I would just keep that in one. And then also including the clavicle bone. Maybe even everything that goes down to the what are they called? The I can't remember these things here right there. The shields at the back. Yeah, those as well. That would probably be the next step, including like creating the neck. Okay, but that's everything for the skull. The skull is quite complex. The other bones are, you know, a little bit more, yeah, scapula, exactly. And then clavicle or collarbone for the front. The scapula and the collarbone basically create like a circle around, create like a circle that is the base of the torso. We're going to look at that the next time. Probably not tomorrow. Tomorrow we're probably going to do something different. But that this is the first step. The first step is the head. And then from here, we're going to go to the next one. So I hope you enjoyed today's stream. Thank you for joining. Maybe you created your own one. I haven't looked into Discord. Let's see. Nope. Wait. There it is. Oh. Look at that. Nice. You've created your own one as well? Nice, that's nice. No teeth though. What is going on? Did you join later? Yeah, looks good. I like it. You use the red madcap. I like the other one more. You know, this one here. I don't know, it just resembles skin a little bit more. That's why I use it. But yeah. This concludes the skull. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you learned something new. Maybe you just learned a little bit more about how you can sculpt the skull, how you can make a complex object easier by creating or by building it with simple objects and then just adding more and more detail to it. Yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening and chatting. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Maybe I'll see you next time. Until then, take care. Have a great rest of your day.